in which an affair unfolds, and we see the damage wrought upon the scorned. Chapter 5. This is a bit indiscreet, but so charming that I want terribly to tell it, said Vronsky, looking at her with laughing eyes. I won't mention names, but I'll guess them. So much the better. Listen, then. 2 gay young men are out driving. Officers from your regiment, naturally. I'm not saying officers, simply 2 young men after lunch. Translate, slightly drunk. Maybe so. They're going to their friends for dinner, in the gayest spirits. They see a pretty young woman overtake them in a cab, look back, and so at least it seems to them, nod to them and laugh. Naturally, they go after her. They drive at full speed. To their surprise, the beauty stops at the entrance to the same house they're going to. The beauty runs upstairs. They see only red lips under a short veil and beautiful little feet. You're telling it with such feeling that I suppose you were one of the 2 yourself. And what did you say to me just now? Well, the young men go to their friend. He's having a farewell dinner. Here they do indeed drink, maybe too much, as is usual at farewell dinners, and over dinner they ask who lives upstairs in that house. Nobody knows, and only the house's footman, to their question whether any mamsells live upstairs, answers that there are lots of them there. After dinner the young men go to the host's study and write a letter to the unknown woman. They write a passionate letter, a declaration, and take the letter upstairs themselves to explain in case the letter isn't quite clear. Why do you tell me such vile things? Well, they ring. A maid comes out. They hand her the letter and assure the maid that they're both so much in love that they're going to die right there on the doorstep. The maid, quite perplexed, conveys the message. Suddenly there appears a gentleman with sausage-shaped side whiskers, red as a lobster, who announces to them that no one lives in the house except his wife, and throws them both out. And how do you know his side whiskers are sausage-shaped, as you say? Just listen. Today I went to try and make peace between them. Well, and what then? Here's the most interesting part. It turned out that they're a happy titular counselor and counseloress. The titular counselor lodges a complaint, and I act as the make-peace. And what a one, I assure you. Talleyrand's got nothing on me. So what's the difficulty? Listen now. We apologized properly. We are in despair. We beg you to forgive us this unfortunate misunderstanding. The titular counselor with the little sausages begins to soften, but he also wants to express his feelings, and as soon as he starts expressing them, he starts getting excited and saying rude things, and I again have to employ all my diplomatic talents. I agree that they did not behave nicely, but I beg you to consider the misunderstanding in their youth. Then, too, the young men had just had lunch. You understand. They repent with all their soul. They beg to be forgiven their fault. The titular counselor softens again. I agree, Count, and I'm ready to forgive them, but you understand that my wife, an honorable woman, has been subjected to the pursuit, rudeness, and brazenness of some boys. And remember, one of the boys is right there, and I'm supposed to make peace between them. Again I use diplomacy, and again, as soon as the whole affair is about to be concluded, my titular counselor gets excited, turns red, the little sausages bristle, and again I dissolve into diplomatic subtleties. This I must tell you, Betsy, laughing, addressed a lady who was entering her box. He's made me laugh so. Well, bon chance, she added, giving Vronsky a free finger of the hand holding her fan, and lowering the slightly ridden-up bodice of her dress with a movement of her shoulders, so as to be well and properly naked when she stepped out to the foot of the stage under the gas lights and under everyone's eyes. Vronsky went to the French theater, where he indeed had to see the regimental commander, who never missed a single performance at the French theater, in order to talk over his peacemaking, which had already occupied and amused him for 3 days. Petritsky, whom he liked, was involved in this affair, as was another nice fellow recently joined up, an excellent comrade, the young Prince Kedrov, and above all, the interests of the regiment were involved. Both were in Vronsky's squadron. An official, the titular counselor Wendin, had come to the regimental commander with a complaint about his officers, who had insulted his wife. His young wife, so Wendin recounted. He had been married half a year, had gone to church with her mother, and, suddenly feeling unwell owing to a certain condition, had been unable to continue standing, and had gone home in the first cab that came along. Here the officers had chased after her. She had become frightened, and, feeling still more sick, had run up the stairs to her home. Wendell himself, having returned from work, had heard the bell and some voices, had gone to the door, and, seeing drunken officers with a letter, had shoved them out. He had demanded severe punishment. No, say what you like, the regimental commander had said to Vronsky, whom he had invited to his place. Petritsky is becoming impossible. Not a week passes without some story. This official won't let the affair drop. He'll go further. Vronsky had seen all the unseemliness of the affair, and that a duel was not possible here, that everything must be done to mollify this titular counselor and hush the affair up. The regimental commander had summoned Vronsky precisely because he knew him to be a noble and intelligent man, and above all a man who cherished the honor of the regiment. They had talked it over and decided that Petritsky and Kedrov would have to go to this titular counselor with Vronsky and apologize. The regimental commander and Vronsky had both realized that Vronsky's name and his Imperial aide-de-camp's monogram ought to contribute greatly to the mollifying of the titular counselor, and indeed, these two means had proved partly effective, but the result of the reconciliation remained doubtful, as Vronsky had told Betsy. Arriving at the French theater, Vronsky withdrew to the foyer with the regimental commander and told him of his success or unsuccess. Having thought everything over, the regimental commander decided to let the affair go without consequences, but then, just for the pleasure of it, began asking Vronsky about the details of the meeting, and for a long time could not stop laughing as he listened to Vronsky's telling him the subsiding titular counselor would suddenly flare up again, as he remembered the details of the affair, and how Vronsky, maneuvering at the last half-word of the reconciliation, had retreated, pushing Petritsky in front of him. A nasty story, but killingly funny. Kedrov really cannot fight with this gentleman. So he got terribly worked up? He asked again, laughing. And isn't Claire something tonight? A wonder, he said about the French actress. Watch all you like, she's new each day. Only the French can do that. If you enjoy this format, please leave a like and subscribe and return tomorrow for the next chapter.